Our cattle live their entire lives on grass. So they spend 99% of their life out on the ranch, eating grass and weeds and various things. And then they spend the rest of their life, the last 8 weeks, they're in here on this pasture. And so they're on grass the entire time. That would be grass-fed, grass-finished.
Most of the time they're sold to the auction, and then there's a buyer that buys them and puts them in a feedlot and feeds them for 6 months, and they're crowded and it's not ideal, the lifestyle. We raise them here until they're ready for slaughter, and then we take them directly up there and they're processed that day. So I think it's a more ideal lifestyle for the animal. They're never in confined spaces and living kind of a natural life.
There are some really positive things being done by small-time farms, ranches, but it's overshadowed by those big guys.
My dad got into ranching. He was actually a city boy, but he married into my mother's family, which was ranching. My dad was trained as a geological engineer, and he was working in the mines and he hated it. And my grandfather said, "Why don't you try ranching?" And Dad said, "But I don't know anything about ranching." He goes, "Oh, that's okay, I'll teach you." We bought this place here in 1966. I think he was really struggling with making a living. He could see the deterioration that had happened on the land. He knew there had to be a better way, and we can actually restore the land to what it used to be.
We try to mimic herd behavior so that all the animals are in a relatively small area for a short period of time.
Rotational grazing is more of a mechanical way of thinking of how you are moving through your various pastures. Here we call them paddocks, which is a smaller pasture within a larger area. So we have multiple paddocks that we pass through. The most important thing you're aiming for is, to the best of your ability, you want the plant to be regrown by the time you come back around. So you're planning how long you are in each paddock based on that. So if I decide it's gonna need probably 6 months to recover, then I need to plan my grazing so that I don't come back for another 6 months.
It makes for more work, but ideally it makes for you to be able to have better habitat for your cattle and for wildlife too.
As they're going through the pasture, they're breaking the capping on the soil. In this environment, the soil can get this hard, almost cement-like surface where it's difficult for the water to penetrate. And as the cow is walking through, she's breaking the capping. So once it does rain, it hopefully stays there long enough for the seeds to germinate and for the plants to grow as much as they can possibly grow.
I think most of our neighbors think we're crazy because it goes against traditional ranching rules.
There is a difference, with what we're doing compared to other people that just turn their cows out and they just do occasional rests. We have various agencies that we work very closely with that think really highly about what we're doing. Game and Fish and the NRCS and State Land Department, because of the way my dad managed, and then we're continuing it, they can see it on the ground. They can see the difference on the ground.
The cows are an important part in the nutrient cycle. We try to increase organic matter in the soil. By doing that, we increase the amount of carbon that is sequestered in the soil.
Just now I'm learning about all the CO2 emissions, how we help that. We have like a negative CO2 level here because we're putting it back in the ground.
Cows can save the world. It's sustainable because we don't really use any outside inputs. The sun provides all the energy required to produce that cycle.
It's very different, but very gratifying being here. I didn't think that I would ever care as much about grass as I do now, and I really do.
Once it's in your blood, it's always in your blood. There's something about it. It's not just a way to make a living, it's a whole way of life. I'm hoping that one of our kids decides to take over. Ryan, right now, our son, is seriously considering it. We would all really like that. It'd be good. You work really hard to build something, you'd sure like to see it pass on to the next generation.